you probably know their Super Sunshine, which is probably the most, I knew the most. But they have a whole line of beers. As you can see, 11 through 15 are Old Mint beers, and then we have a Czech Pilsner, or Pilsner. We're going to hear all about them and try their beers. Thank you for coming. We have Katie here. Woo! And she's going to talk us through a little bit about the brewery and all the beers. So here she is.
Yeah.
Hi guys.
Hey.
Can you hear me in the back? All right, good. Wave at me if you can, because I'm not a projector. So my name is Katie. I am number one, a huge beer nerd. That's how I got into the industry in general. I'll give you a quick little history of myself. I'm not that important, but I used to be a dancer. I was a ballet dancer, and I went on tour. And I discovered that every city I went to on this bus tour for 8 months had a different beer. And I was like, I love beer, and I love that every single one is different. This is amazing. So I got into the industry as a dancer in New York City. Obviously, I waited tables a lot. And so I worked my way up through beer bars, ended up working at a brewery, and then ended up selling beer for a brewery. And now I work for Lawson. I've been with them for about 6 months. So I'm a little fresh to the brewery, but I'm not fresh to beer. A couple more things about me. I am a certified cicerone, so I know a lot about beer. I drink a lot of beer is what it actually means. And I am a nationally ranked BJCP judge for all of your homebrewers out there.
Wow.
Big nerd, take that test, it's horrible, do it, it's fun. So, a little bit about Lawson. They were founded in 2008 by Sean Lawson and his wife Karen. It was basically a little barn in their backyard of their house in Warren, Vermont.
Oh, really?
It was one barrel brewery up until 2011, and then they went up to a whole 7 barrels. So it's been a very small space for a long time. They didn't open a full-fledged big brewery space in Waitsfield, Vermont until 2018. So it's been a long time coming. 2008 when we were founded, we didn't release Sip of Sunshine, which is our flagship beer, until 2014. So for a very long time, Sean brewed beer, tinkered around in his backyard, in his little, basically barn, and built the brands, built the beers, and finally was comfortable enough releasing a beer. In 2014, that was our flagship. We didn't have Lawson's Finest Liquids in New York State, or New York City specifically, until 2017. So it's still a pretty fresh brand in the city comparatively, but a pretty well-renowned brand in Vermont. So that's a little bit of history about Lawson. Did I miss anything important? You know more about it. You might know. If you guys, who's familiar? Who skis? Anybody ski? Anybody ski? All right. Sugarbush. If you know where Sugarbush Mountain is, or Mad River Glen, that is where our brewery is located. About 5.5 hours up, right about in the middle of Vermont, in a very small town where basically there's only bed and breakfasts, no hotels, and a couple ski mountains. Ooh, more volume. So this is my first time doing this, guys, so you tell me when we're ready to start pouring beer.
All right.
Probably.
We're ready for beer? All right, cool.
Maybe talk about the
Say what?
program.
Oh, I touched on that. All right,
Oh,
so
yeah,
great point. One of the
I thought you said Dixie Cup. I'm like,
One of the highlights of Lawson's Finest Liquids is our charity program. We are huge into giving back to the community. So we have the SIP program. Why am I blanking on what it stands for right now?
he's very cute.
Basically, we donate. So our tap room, our waiters and waitresses in our tap room in Waitsfield, Vermont, don't actually collect any tips. Whenever you go there and you tip our wait staff, that money all goes to charity. And twice a month, we give all that money that you tipped to our waiters and waitresses to a local Vermont charity.
Oh.
So great philanthropic. What? There it is. Social impact program. Wow. You know what? It's like they don't even pay. Who knows? So that's one great thing. Another awesome thing about Lawson's that you might see in your local stores is we never have beer warm on the floor or on the shelf. Our beer is always stored cold, shipped cold, kept cold. So we brew it, we put it in a refrigerated truck, we send it down here. Our distributor partners keep it cold and they deliver it cold. So it is as brewery fresh as it could possibly be.
Quite
so
the charmer.
Tonight you guys are going to taste Kiwi double IPA. It's going to be the last beer we're going to taste. I know you're going to have to hold out for it. But it is literally 2 days old. It was packaged 2 days ago and it was shipped here cold. It was delivered here cold and it is being served cold. So it is as fresh a beer you're going to get from Vermont as any. Cool. Does anybody have any questions about Lawson? Yes.
So what's his inspiration for what's the brewery's inspiration for new beers and stuff?
Sure. So the question was, what is the inspiration for new beers at Lawson's? I mean, I'll give you, basically, we want to make beer that you want to drink multiple of. And we want to give you beer that is as fresh as you would get in our space in Vermont. So our two goals are to make it fresh, refreshing, and exciting, and to make it something that you want to drink more than one of. So we have, the first beer we're going to drink is our Scrag Mountain Pilsner, which is definitely one that I can drink more than one of. One of my favorite beers we make. But I think that answers your question. Does anybody else have any questions about Lawson's Finest?
Pilsner, everything else is nice.
Another fun fact about Lawson's, we only sold beer out of basically a farmer's market for the first 3 years of existence.
Wow.
The only place you could get any Lawson's beer was this cute little corner store in Warren, Vermont, which doesn't even have its own ski mountain. So.
Are you guys distributed?
I come.
No, we are distributed through Serene Craft in New York City and the Hudson Valley, Long Island, and the farther out in the state you go, we have a couple other distributors. But they are a fantastic partner. Look it, he's even here with me.
Yeah.
Are they still contracting at 2 Roads?
Yes, so we always, from our initial New York distribution, we're brewing out of 2 Roads. Sip of Sunshine is always brewed, which allows it to get here fresher and in more quantities. I haven't been and I need to go.
It's nice. Don't bring any kids. No minors.
I don't have any, no problem. Yes.
Is this the Pilsner we're drinking?
The question was if we were going to the Lake Champlain Beer Festival, and I'm pretty sure that's the same weekend as my sister's wedding, so I can't. And I'm the only show in New York, so unfortunately. No problem. All right. It looks like a lot of you have gotten a pour. Yes? Question? Oh, I'd be happy to explain what a Pilsner is. I love that question. Yes. Okay. So for anybody who didn't hear that, the question was, what is a Pilsner? So a Pilsner is a type of lager. There's 2 family of beer, well, there's multiple things, but there's 2 main families. You have lager yeast and you have ale yeast. We're gonna talk about lager yeast. They work better cold, and they basically produce less fermentation characteristics. So they produce less esters or phenols, which are spicy characters or fruity characters that ale yeast at hotter temperatures make. So number 1 is held longer and fermented longer, but fermented cooler. So it's kind of like all of us. If it's hot, we work really fast because we want to get the job done, and we produce a lot of sweat. If it's cold, we work a little slower, there's a lot less sweat, so a lot less phenol ester character. So that's the first thing to know about Pilsner. Second thing to know about Pilsner, there are 2 types, German and Czech. Ours is specifically a Czech-style Pilsner. They're very closely related, but Pilsners tend to have a more pronounced hop profile than other lagers international lagers and or lagers tend to have a little bit lower hop profile, a little bit less bite at the end. A Czech style Pilsner is maltful, really like nice mouthfeel, soft, and the hops are pronounced but not biting. A German style Pilsner, on the other hand, is going to be a little bit more forthright with its hops, a little bit more aggressive, and a little bit cleaner mouthfeel. Did that answer your question at all? Cool. Yes, question.
If I remember, is it a Pilsner that has to be horizontal?
Technically, most lagers have to be horizontal.
Most lagers.
Basically, lager means to lie down or store for longer periods of time. And the reason they use lager tanks, which are long versus the high tanks that you use in ales, is because it allows more contact with the yeast, because the yeast are going to work slower because they're in a colder environment. So most lagers should be laid out in a lager tank. Yeah. Ooh, yes. Thank you. That's a, yeah. I mean, that's amazing. I can't answer all of that question, but I will. Okay. So the question was, I announced this beer is Scrag Mountain Pilsner. We haven't really even touched on it yet. And he asked, is this our mountain, and can I explain the water in the aquifer that produces this water? I definitely cannot get into the geographic aquifer. Unfortunately, I'm a beer nerd, not a geography nerd. But I can tell you that the Scrag Mountain is where we get our water from, and that is what we named this beer after. If you're familiar with just like the word Pilsner in general, the style comes from Pilsen in the Czech Republic, and their water is the reason that Pilsners exist. the bottom, which makes it both more like reliable from can to can and keg to keg, and also makes it so you don't have any of those like frozen floaties. Floaty less. Another fun fact about Lawson's is that we ask very specifically for anybody who chooses to carry our beer. We are happy for anybody who wants to sell our beer, especially on draft. Great. Buy our kegs, pour it. But we ask very nicely for anybody who's buying our beer that they have a good draft cleaning system or a draft cleaning program. By standards in New York State, in general, every bar should have their draft lines cleaned every 2 weeks, and then they should have an acid rinse every 6 months, which is like even more technical. But our standards we hold to, we have a list of draft technicians that we're happy to have clean our lines, and whenever I'm going in to talk about draft beer, you know, myself and the wholesaler are working with the bar to make sure that they have a draft cleaning program, so our beer, again, tastes as fresh as it would in the brewery at any bar I can serve that.
Wait, how do they transport the cold in kegs?
Sometimes they stick, so that's why I want to.
All right, guys, it sounds like you are getting a pour right now of our little sip.
Thank you.
So I can't tell the story of Little Sip without telling, you know, the story of Sip of Sunshine. Sip of Sunshine has been our flagship beer since 2014, always brewed at 2 Roads, and it is an 8% IPA. So we're selling this beer in New York City, but elsewhere where people have to drive cars and get places. And it's really hard to sell more than, you know, 2 Sip of Sunshine pints to a consumer on good conscience at a bar.
Yeah.
If they're driving home, right? Yeah. So we said, you know what? Let's brew something that you can drink more than 2 of. So we came up with Little Sip, which is 6.3, which is not that much lower, but it does make a huge difference when you're piling them on top of each other. So you will know between Little Sip and Sip of Sunshine, they have a very, very similar hop profile. They basically use almost the same exact hop bill. The biggest difference is the malt complexity and the alcohol content. So you're going to get a little bit more residual sweetness out of Sip of Sunshine when you drink that. This is a lot more of a hop-featured beer versus Sip of Sunshine itself. What's everybody smelling and tasting from the hops? I got nice aroma. What are you smelling, guys?
Well, I'd like to say what I smell, but my allergies are messing me up.
The allergies are the worst. Does anybody have any specific thing they're smelling or tasting?
Help me out. No.
You guys have an opinion. What do you smell?
Jalapeno poppers.
Citrus. I mean, you got the nail on the head, man. We are a very citra forward hop profile on all of our flagship IPAs. So it's one of our main components, but it also is something people love. So we lean into that.
Have you stayed at the Airbnb?
I have stayed at the Airbnb. I had a great question over here as to whether I stayed at the Airbnb. Another fun fact about Lawson is we have 2 Airbnbs. One is where the former brewery is, the Warren Brewery. And the second one is on basically the campus of Lawson's Finest Liquids. It's like on the main road. It's a big red house. And we call it the Red House. And it's a 5-bedroom house.
Wow.
But I've had the privilege of staying there because when the sales team comes into town, we have 1 person per state basically. There is nowhere to put us up in that small town. It's all bed and breakfasts, and we would be too big for almost all of them. And it would cost them more money to put us up in a bed and breakfast than to have purchased this house either for an Airbnb and give it to us on like the 4 times a year we go up. So I can walk to the brewery when I go there because I'm staying on campus.
Can you
The
visit?
original bed and breakfast is Sean's house.
Yes, it's. I went there. So there is also an Airbnb that has the brewery, the original brewery alongside it, and they warn people. It's a shed, and they warn people if you're staying there, you might see somebody come up to brew. You might have like brewers in your backyard while you're staying there. So close the blinds. Don't walk around without your clothes on.
I mean, you could. They're just gonna be in for a rude awakening.
You could. That would be a choice.
Yeah, you could. It doesn't mean you should. So, can you visit the brewery in Vermont? Is there like a tap room there?
Yes, we would love to have you up there. It's in Waitsfield, Vermont. It is open Monday. It's open every day of the week. It only stays open until like 8 or 9 o'clock because that's what everything in Waitsfield does. But it's a really fun experience. They have an amazing staff, and then again, if you tip the staff, that money actually goes to charity, which is also amazing. No coffee.
Oh yeah.
We might have put coffee in things.
I was thinking like, yeah, so just some sort of like coffee. Like, I swear I had that. The first time I came across it, and I was in Jericho.
Oh wow, you can't take public transportation there.
Around like 2015, in the first year.
I'm sad I wasn't on this trip. So the question was if we've ever dabbled in coffee. I mean, who doesn't like a little up with a little bit of down in their beer? I do. But no, we don't make any current beer with coffee in it. I can't quote that we've never put coffee in our beer, ever. Staten, we do make an imperial stout that we do sometimes put coffee beans in. That does happen.
I think I've seen it.
Coffee infused.
Because I'm thinking of just a little bit of something that said coffee.
This is the regular set, so this is like imperial. But when you have a 4.6.3, and this is 8.1 or 8, so it's definitely a lot
is a
higher.
$5
She was saying before it has like a similar hop profile.
To where they are in Vermont.
Like it's unbelievable.
That was cold.
Can I get a little bit of sip? Of course you can. While I'm talking about it, thank you. All right, guys, you are getting the one, the only sip of sunshine.
Woo!
So my understanding of the naming of this beer,
That's
well,
really
Sean
good.
Lawson took a sniff, took a taste,
Where are the
and said,
batteries?
"Wow, that is just like a sip of sunshine." And there was the
Sip
name.
of sunshine.
And I can't argue with
Number
him.
12.
He's right.
Alliteration.
A little alliteration and a big yellow can. That's really helped our business along. All right, so this guy, I think it's great to compare Little Sip to Sip. They both have their own place in my heart and their place on the draft list. But this guy is just a bumped up version of Little Sip, right? You get that aroma, that citrus, that bright orange lemon aroma. But then there's a little bit more oomph. and that's from the alcohol for sure. But there's also a little bit more malt character in there, a little bit more character malt, if you will. So it's not just a straight malt bill, there's a little bit more mixed in there. I can't quote exactly what's in there, but a little more darker malt, if you will, character malt. Citra. That's what they've told me. I mean, I've only been there 5 months, so there might be more secrets that I haven't unveiled yet. But Citra, a little bit of
Citra, a little bit of cracked.
what?
Citra.
Top of that.
So, what do you guys think about Sip of Sunshine?
It's delicious.
Yeah, cheers guys. Cheers. Thank you for listening to me babble along on my microphone. Appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions about Sip of Sunshine?
What was the inspiration for it?
This isn't half full.
Okay, so the inspiration for Sip of Sunshine definitely came from Sean's, like, we'll call it his, like, his baby beer, like the beer he cares very deeply for. It's called Double Sunshine. And Double Sunshine does not come down to New York very often, or if at all.
I may have seen it once.
Yeah, it can exist. We do it a few times out down here with like some grapefruit in it sometimes. We don't ever release like single, regular Double Sunshine. And that was the beer people used to chase to Vermont. They used to go to Waitsfield. They used to go to the Waitsfield store to get it. They waited in line. They got it in the big bottles, the big bomber bottles. And he didn't want to completely remake that beer when we were going to 2 rows and larger scale production. So he said, you know what, I'm gonna make it close, but I'm not gonna expect the same thing. And that is what this beer is. It is his simulation of Double Sunshine on the 2 road system, which I think was pretty successful.
Katie, to add to Cassidy's question, would you say that in the time that these finest liquids came out, that the playing field in Vermont was for IPAs kind of hardcore, it's like you had to come kind of like really correct because that's what the battlefield was and still is.
That's a great question. I'm gonna paraphrase, but the question was, when we started making these beers, you know, the quality of beer coming out of Vermont was really high, and how did we handle that? And did we, you know, we came with the right game? And I'm gonna say yes. I think Lawson's Finest Liquids came with the quality and the respect for the ingredients, the process, and the beer itself. And that is echoed with our, you know, cold chip, cold stored, cold served. We hold ourselves to a standard that most breweries don't or can't. IPA specifically. So that's okay, I'm gonna expand on that. IPAs specifically, hops lose their character the longer they exist in the beer, right? There's a reason why IPA should be drank within, ours 2 months. We have 60-day IPA shelf life on our beer. If you see anything that's on the shelf for longer than 60 days, let me know. I will chase it down. And then make my boyfriend drink it out of my fridge because I have to buy it and get it off the shelf.
Which one is this?
So that was part of our shelf life. We stick with the 60-day shelf life for a very specific reason, because hops change, hops fade, and you're not going to get the same beer you would have gotten at our brewery if you get it after 61 days, 62 days, 90 days. It's just not going to be the same quality. So hops and beer itself is an active, live process, and you have to respect that it's like milk. You can't just like set it out in the sun and taste it a week later and hope it's going to be good. It's going to be different and not going to be great.
Aw, look at that smile. You got the cutest little smile. Oh, no, you eat that French fry. That's for you. Oh. Oh, you are adorable. His name is Cole. Nice to meet you, Cole.
All right, guys, you are
Smell the sweetness.
This bad boy comes in at 8.1%.
Smell the sweetness.
Just one-upping Sip of Sunshine by a little bit. It is called Kiwi Double IPA because our hops that we use in this beer, Nelson Sauvin and Pacific Jade, come from our Kiwi country, New Zealand. Thank you. So that's where the Kiwi name comes from. There's no Kiwis heard
It's from
in the
New
making
Zealand.
of this beer. No Kiwis heard in the making of this beer. This beer, my first time having it was tonight. So I can give you my first reactions in that it is a very aromatic IPA. It falls along a similar line to Hazy Rays in that it's a more hazy forward beer. It has aroma and flavor and not a ton of bitters at the end. It's a really smooth, soft finish. Still a cloudy IPA and
It's delicious. I really
a
like it.
little sneaky. It doesn't taste like 8.1%.
Yeah, you can taste it.
I didn't even know that.
Alright, you can taste it. I can't taste it.
You can tell the difference between a double. You can definitely tell a double. No doubt.
I just drink too much beer.
No.
Melts on the tongue. I love that. Question?
Well, I do find that like when it comes to stronger beers, at least in my opinion, they go two different directions. You can either taste the alcohol every sip, or they're really nice and smooth, and then it sneaks up on you, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, did I call you last night?
You can taste
Been
it.
there. I'll say for this guy, I think it's not aggressively alcohol. Like it doesn't have a burn.
Yeah.
But you know.
You can taste the double.
It's a friendly beer. It's here for fun tonight. Okay, that's a good question. I love this question because I can answer this with my beer nerdness. All right, the question was, what makes a double IPA? So a double IPA has to both have more alcohol strength, but also more hops in it. When you start raising the alcohol content of a beer, you're raising the amount of malt character you're putting in the beer and the alcohol content. And both of those things increase the sweetness of a beer. And the call sign of an IPA is that it has a bitter bite or is hop focused versus malt focused. Hops usually have more either spice, herb, or fruit flavor or aroma and are more biting and bitter at the end compared to malts, which are sweet, more like baked goods flavors and notes. So an IPA and a double IPA has to have both the malt and the alcohol increased, but with that increase you have to also balance it with the hops. So it's like baking in that you have to have an even split, or you have to balance those two ingredients.
It's not like it's
It's not that story.
That's true. It's just like one of those.
Yes. Question.
Want it?
How old is he?
16 months.
16 months. Oh,
Yeah.
adorable.
All right.
Happy
So
birthday, little guy.
about that question. No, you're right. Well, first of all, whenever you're tasting beer, in my opinion, if you have what you're tasting, you are right. It's just that maybe you're not using the same terminology as the person next to you, in my personal opinion. So there's never a wrong answer with beer. But in what you're saying, yes, I think there's a tropical stone fruit note in there, and that's how I reference it. But you're calling it more a overripe, like jammy flavor. And I think, yeah, either way, that's what you're getting. Nelson Sauvin hops specifically are known for like their winey character, so that could be the note you're getting. And then Pacific Jade and just New Zealand hops in general are known for their tropical notes. So that all lines up with exactly what you should be experiencing with the beer. So nice. Good job. Any other questions about the kiwi? With no kiwi in it?
What's the one that was from us? I was gonna say Australia. Sorry, New Zealand.
The one you're drinking right now. That's the hops are from New Zealand.
Yes, and the one the New Zealand hops are
Nelson Sauvin and Pacific Juice.
neat. Very cool.
Any new beers in the works? Anything?
Yes, okay. Alright, so the question was, any new beers in the works and anything new on the horizon? So 2023 is really looking up for Lawson's. We're doing some really fun stuff. Hazy Rays was a brand new year-round release, so that was a huge one, obviously. Tasting it. Kiwi hasn't come out in 2 or 3 years. But the next one on our docket, which I'm really excited about, is an elderberry goza. Yeah, Lawson has not released a sour beer to their 8-state distribution ever, so I can't wait to taste it. And my favorite thing about that beer is the recipe is written by our lab tech. Her name is Julie, and it's the first female beer recipe coming out of Lawson, so I'm pumped. Yes. And then we also have a really great Irish stout coming out on Nitro. We acquired the technology. No, it's an Irish stout. We acquired the technology to nitrogenize our cans. So we're gonna have 16-ounce cans that are nitrogenized, which is amazing. You can't just do it like Guinness does because they own that technology, so you have to come up with your own way. And then we're gonna have it on draft too, and I cannot wait. So those are the things I'm excited about. So Goza's coming out July, August, and then the stout is going to be November, December.
Ooh, something to look forward to.
Yes.
I have to say, on Staten Island, I don't know, I used to work at Beverage Island, and we used to have a lot of your stuff, and I'm pretty sure I've had the double we've had the double sunshine while I was working there. I'm pretty sure I've had it. I want to have it again. But Beverage Island always keeps your stuff in the fridge.
They sure do. They do a really good job. I'll say I'm one person for the state of New York. Our wholesaler partner, Serene Craft in New York State, does such an incredible job on a day-to-day basis making sure our beer is kept cold and they uphold our standards. And I really appreciate it because I can't be everywhere at once.
Are you hiring?
Thank you, Kevin.
Just put it down, don't pick it up. It's time.
Distributors, but
Maybe not. Might be done.
Ooh, a maple creamy beer? No, we don't do that. We do have an Imperial Amber Ale called Mad River Maple.
I do want to try that. Do we have that?
We don't have it on draft right now. We do it year-round in Vermont, and we do it. It will be a limited release this year.
I just missed it.
It's September, October. It'll be back. It'll be back in New York State September, October. I'm sure this fine establishment amongst the other key ones like Staten Island. Someone will be back, but we don't do a maple cream.
Like junior high?
But that's actually the.
Oh, I went to the high
That's
school.
actually the other beer style that Sean Lawson is very passionate about is beer brewed in maple syrup.
Specialty. Well, when I was there, I did architecture.
We're good friends with Kamal. Known Kamal forever.
Yeah.
Guys, I really appreciate you listening to me dither on about beer. Does anybody have any other questions about Lawson, the beers you tasted, or, beer nerd shit?
I know, since you're from Vermont, I'm under the impression Scrag Mountain is very Vermont. What is, like, the most Vermont beer Lawson makes?
Probably the Mad River Maple that I just talked about. It's an
That sounds really cool.
with
I don't
maple
think
syrup.
I've had that. I'm pretty sure I haven't had that one yet. That sounds really neat.
September, October. It'll be back.
I gotta look for it.
We'll have it here for a table.
Pre-sale keg, got it. Over here, sale.
Now for that.
Thank you.
Hey, Drew, Katie. Thank you so much. Awesome beers. We'll have them on draft until they're gone. And then we'll have more. Then we'll have more. If they'll make more, we'll buy more. Thank you all for coming. You know what you have to do now? You have to go to your local places and ask for Lawson's finest liquids. Why don't you have Lawson? Why don't you have sip of sunshine? Where is your sip of fucking sunshine? Okay, great meeting. Thank you so much. The beers are great. Thanks for Kevin for facilitating once again. Fantastic. We'll do this again next month when we have other half. Another bunch of IPAs for your palate to destroy your palate. If you're into that kind of thing, S&M palate destroyer. That should be great, and we'll have a bunch of other beers. Last Thursday of the month, please make reservations if you want to come. As you can see, we get pretty full, which is great. Thank you so much for loving craft beer, and I'll see you next month. Oh, yes, I almost forgot. Serene picked up a brewery that makes mainly sour beers. For those sour lovers like myself, can't get enough sours.
I love sour beer.
June
16.
Hold on.
Sour beer is juice to me.
June 15th.
Oh, June 15th.
What's your better sour?
Thursday, June 15th, we will be doing a tap takeover with Urban Artifact.
Industrial Ranch, what's your best sour?
They have a
Oh, God.
peaches.
I have to say, the best sour I ever had
Nitro
was a
sour.
traditional Goza from
That is just
from
phenomenal. We have it in
Germany.
cans at the moment, but I can't wait to have it on
For American
on
ones,
draft.
Anderson,
And
I
we will
believe the
have
name of the
about
brewery is
6
Anderson
of their
Valley.
beers,
They have
all sours
a
on
blood
draft.
orange Goza.
So,
That one's really
June
good.
15th.
Sours. Flagship made that Goza for a Flagship made a Goza
June
for a short
15th
period
is
of
not going to be a
time.
sit-down meeting like this. It's just going to be tap takeover with a bunch of sour beers on.
Wait, Hillsborough.
Oh, the owner of the brewery is
Yeah,
here.
Hillsborough has
The owner
several
of the
gimme
brewery will be here
sours.
at the
Those are really
Hot Pot in
good.
Staten Island. I mean, come on. You got to come to this event.
There was the one thing that
got me.
Hillsborough always
All right,
seems to
well,
have
maybe I'll see you
is
June
gimme
15th. I hope so.
sour
Otherwise, I'll
with
see you next month.
guava
The last Thursday of
and
the month.
something else. That one's
Take it
usually
easy.
very good. I love that one.